Hi, I'm Stephanie J. Block.
And I'm Mary Lee Fairbanks.
Welcome to Season 3 of Stages Podcast,
where we continue to bring creation and connection to center stage.
And now we have LOJ. Although at first it looked like DOJ, and I was like, I am very ill prepared for this.
Oh, yeah, no.
The DOJ just came on.
No, it's the DOJ. No, you got that right.
You are the Department of Justice.
The department. The entire department.
Is your whole family with you?
My whole family's with me. The babies will probably come in. They're like at the park or something now. They'll probably come in and disrupt in any minute.
In the best way possible, those little disruptors.
In his 2018 book, Failing Up, How to Take Risks, Aim Higher, and Never Stop Learning, Leslie Odom Jr. says, quote, "Do not let your fear or anyone else's rob you of your power of your yes or your no. Own them both and use them as you see fit." I love that quote. This brilliant man made his Broadway debut in 1998 at the age of 17 in Rent. 15 years later, he catapulted to stardom for his portrayal of Arron Burr in the original Broadway company of Hamilton, an American musical. This earned him a Grammy and a Tony Award. He has been seen on film and television. He is currently starring in the Broadway revival of PURLIE VICTORIOUS, written by Ossie Davis, at the Music Box Theater. His new album, Mr. M, is out now, and we'll have a link to that and to all of his albums in the show notes. He is a father, a musician, an author, an actor, a singer, producer, and a boxer, which we will definitely chat about. And though I do not know him personally, he strikes me as a person who is impeccable with his word and his actions, one who carefully chooses when he says yes or no, one who lives his life with clear intention and clear vision of his future. And we are so happy that he said yes to us. Please welcome Mr. Leslie Odom Jr.
Leslie Odom Jr. to stage, please. LOJ, can we have you to stage?
What an intro. That's very nice. Thank you so much.
I loved your book. I downloaded it yesterday and listened to the entire thing in an afternoon while I switched out my clothes from summer to winter.
Yeah.
What an East Coast thing to do.
Right.
It was so great. I devoured it. And I believe in so many of the philosophies that you talked about. And I wanted to share something with you. I have a feeling that you may know it because you seem like a guy who might do yoga. Are you a yoga guy?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know Gaian, the mudra, right? That everybody always sees, where your pointer finger touches your thumb. Do you know the meaning behind this mudra?
No.
I don't.
Okay. Every finger, you're going to love this because it's very you. Every finger has a meaning. Okay. Your pinky finger represents earthly desires. Your ring finger represents your illusions. Your middle finger represents your ego. Your pointer finger represents your highest self, and your thumb represents, God, universe, higher power, whatever you
Christ consciousness.
Yeah. So when we do this mudra, we are asking that our earthly desires, our illusions, and our ego fall away to free our highest self to reach for God. And when you do, God will bend to meet you halfway.
Mary Lee. That is fantastic.
Isn't that beautiful? But you talk about that in your book, about when you start moving toward what you dream of, the universe will come and meet you. And that's made me think of this. And I was like, he has to know this. So anyway, I thought you'd love that.
This past year has been my world was rocked, the last year and a half. It's coming for everybody, so if it hasn't happened for you yet, it's like, just wait, I'm not special, like that. It happens, going from, there comes a point where you grow, you don't, right? And you fall away. So like all of my life was beckoning me to grow and become, and it was like I was very aware of the fact that life was asking more of me than I was capable to I needed new tools. I really did. I had to go in search of new tools to answer the demands of my life. I got into therapy for the first time, and I was reading and journaling for the first time, and all these things that I was doing work in search of tools. And what I realized, Stephanie and Marilee, like 2-3 months into doing this, I was like, oh, this is what loving myself looks like. Men don't often, men need that kind of nudge. We don't often think of self-care in that way, and the truth is, Stephanie, you mentioned Christ consciousness. I was doing this in preparation for PURLIE and other things. I started taking my Bible study very seriously, and it was a major part of the preparation for the text of Mr. Davis and these big ideas. The Bible, people don't often talk about it. It's a tremendous piece of literature. It's so Job reads like Shakespeare. It's incredible writing.
Letters, songs, the gospel, which is the good news. I mean, it's all in there. It's
My
all
God.
in there.
But I'm in the New Testament, and I was reading, that part where the Pharisees are kind of, testing Jesus, and, because they have all these laws. There's all these laws that they're to follow. There's hundreds of them, and what do you do and what you're not to do? And they say, they ask him, what are the 2 most important laws to follow? No, and whatever his answer is, it's wrong, because how dare you,
Right.
boil down these hundreds of laws to 2,
It's
so
not, it can't be that simple. We study all day. How could you possibly make it that simple?
That's right. And you guys know, the first one, love the Lord your God with all your heart, your soul, your mind, and that one. I'm paraphrasing, forgive me. And the number 2, paraphrasing Jesus, forgive me for a moment. And the number 2 was love thy neighbor, as you love thyself, right? And what I realized in this journey, man, it's like we get tripped up on that one because we're not even loving ourselves. The truth is, many of us are loving our neighbors like we love ourselves, and we're shitty to ourselves too. We're terrible to I had no grace with myself, no forgiveness, I was not gentle with myself. And so, of course, I would be impatient. Of course, I had a hard time having grace with the people around me because I was so unkind to myself. And so treating myself with more kindness, has really just changed my life. It's allowed me to be able to love my neighbor as I'm loving myself.
Without betraying yourself, can you share what you have observed since you've been journaling this last year?
It was mainly that, and it was, and it's like all the little ways that I'm unkind to myself. They're sneaky, and just finding a way to have the same grace for myself that I have for my son.
We've talked about that in the past, Stephanie. Remember that we talked about putting little pictures of ourselves at like 3 years old, or of our children at very young ages up next to our computer. And every time you start, what would I say to that little child? I would never be so unkind. Never. Yeah, we've talked about that in other episodes. Another thing too is like, to bring it around to when I was cleaning out my closet, there's a pair of pants in there that I've had every winter. I put them back out thinking, oh, I'll lose enough weight to wear them this winter. And every winter I put them in there, and it's a form of punishment to look at them. I open it. It makes me say something nasty about myself. So yesterday I took them out of the closet. I was like, thank you, pants. I'm going to give them to someone else who will love them.
There you go.
Instead of opening the door and criticizing myself for not being able to wear them
any longer.
And the other thing that I went through a couple of years over COVID of learning about what self-love was for me, what it represented for me. And in my world, I had to release people who unfairly demanded of me as a form of self-love. That was tough because I felt guilty. I felt like I was abandoning certain people. But what I came to realize was it was a form of love for me to take care of me. And that's hard to do. Yeah. Turning selfish into a positive thing is really
Absolutely.
hard to accept.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
started waking up 2 hours before my wife and my kids, and that's my time. However I have to get it. If I have to wake up at 4:30 or 5 a.m. to have my cup of coffee, to get my journal, to check in with myself, to do my little yoga, to do my little run, that
Yes.
just to check in with myself before the demands of the day start rushing in. That little thing, like that's anyway, it was me caring about myself, and it's just changed my life.
The centering is so important. Another thing that we've discussed before is that I was finding what triggered this thought is the day truly rushes in. I mean, we can
Yeah.
all imagine that, whatever that looks like, listeners, in your home. But once it rushes in, then you're swept away. You almost feel like you don't have control. Life has now taken control. But if you give that gift of time, then you're centered to figure out how to navigate the rushing
That's
of
right.
it all. And your choices seem a little clearer. You find that you're a much better person to the people that you love the most, rather than saving that better person for the outside noise and,
That's
and
right.
all the other things. I had said this a couple times. I looked at myself and went, I am being my best self when I'm out in the world for 5 hours, being
That's right.
Stephanie J. Block, the singer, the actor. And then when
Yep.
I come home, I'm the shell. And I'm
Yep.
asking these people who are the most important, love the shell. And
So true.
I was losing touch,
Yeah.
So that's what that time affords me, is that if I know I don't give myself 2 hours. I applaud you for that. But if I can give myself the 20 minutes or half hour
Yeah.
to center, to think, to plan, to become, so that when I wake Vivian,
That's
I am
right.
the mom. I'm
Amen.
meeting her where she needs,
That's
not
right.
where I need,
Yeah.
Not fair to ask a little person to say, you need to meet me where mama is, who's usually in 17 different directions.
I want to ask you a question about how you make your decisions, because I know that when you were doing Hamilton and it was downtown, it was before Broadway, it was before it became the phenomenon that it is, you made a very difficult decision to leave a project which would have brought you a lot of money and a lot of fame and a lot of notoriety behind in order to go with your gut. So I'm just curious, how did you come to that decision? What drove you there, and how did you know it was the right one?
I just life is going to give you the opportunity every now and again to prove to yourself who you are. It's going to give it to all of us. We all like to think of ourselves in lots of different ways. I'm always telling people, and I to remind myself, the record of your life, it's not what you thought, it's not what you felt. Because a lot of times inside we can feel like jello.
Mhm.
Inside we feel all types of things. Nobody knows what you thought you were a coward, or you thought you were not worthy, or they know what you did.
Right.
Vivi's going to remember what you did.
Not my intention, but my
That-
action.
That's right.
Yeah.
These people
And the
are gonna
intention behind the action, though, because
That's
the
Sure, it
action will
matters.
take on very different things if the intention behind it is out of fear
It
or out
matters.
of, or out of
Love.
joy. Right.
That
Exactly.
matters.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew in that moment that I couldn't betray myself. I couldn't betray that 17-year-old kid that wanted to be a part of Rent. And here I am, Lin-Manuel giving me the greatest piece of material that that 17-year-old kid would have I couldn't betray that kid. The decision was, I made it pretty quickly. It was just about, how am I going to get out of this contract? Because, they could technically say, oh, sorry,
It's bound.
Yeah.
yeah. And I just was not going to be, I don't think I would have been okay. You know what I mean? I don't think I would have been okay if something like that, if I would have lost Hamilton.
Just for our listeners, this story is in the book that he writes, Failing Up. And it's a fascinating story. It's a great section of the book. So I recommend it.
Probably not the healthiest thing, but Seb will often ask me, hey, if you're willing to release that, now envision another actor playing that role and telling that story. If it makes you physically ill,
No, that's way healthy.
you can't,
Stephanie,
you can't move forward. If you hear a different voice singing those lyrics or a different interpreter saying those lines, can you physically stand it?
That
and there are
is
times
way
where I'm like,
healthy.
I physically cannot stand it. Then it's a have to.
That's how I'm doing all my choices now. The way I'm making them are, there's that beautiful, I think it's a beautiful quote. I forget who said it, but follow your envy. Like the things that you look and you see somebody else do that makes you feel a little, that's the life you want.
Right.
Go get the life you want.
Yeah.
Not
their life, your
not their life.
version
Yes.
of that. Yes.
If that, you're watching, if I'm watching somebody, they got, they're in the country and they've got that little pond that, you want to live in the country, go figure out a way to live in the country. It's like, at this point, no, I'm saying yes to all the things that I don't think I would be able to live to see somebody else do that thing. I've got to do that thing because I would not be okay if somebody else got to it first.
But you have to be very centered. You have to be very centered in that kind of thinking, though, because there's that can come from an ego place that's very unhealthy, where you sort of can't fill the want enough. But if you're centered, and as you get yourself centered every morning for a couple of hours or your 40 minutes or however long you do it, when you make those decisions from that centered place where you feel grounded and safe, as it seems that you do, that's where you make your decisions from. That's different, because some people just need.
Amen.
Nothing fills
Amen.
it. So you have to make sure the intention behind that want is.
You're absolutely right.
One of our mottos is the want has to have a why. And if your why is not clear, then that want will consume you and will not, like you just said, it won't fill it.
No.
But if there is a why, if the intention is there as to why you're getting the hashtag go get your pond, if you're going to go get your pond, and there is a true understanding as to what that means to your life, and it's not about comparing, or it's not about the applause, which sometimes we also need. That can also, the both can be true. But if the deeper why is there, then I think it could be a healthy place to entice, to inspire.
Yeah. It helps it helps edit. It helps things fall away, getting clearer about what you want, what you really want, helps you understand the things that you don't want. Because some of the things, when you start tracing, when I start tracing them back, it's like, where did that even come from? That's not my desire. That came from the world. The media told me that was what I was supposed to want. I never wanted that. I don't care about that. I want this. This is what brings meaning to my life. This is what brings me joy to my life. Standing on stage at the Music Box Theater in this play that I've been working to bring to Broadway for 6 or 7 years, I am the happiest in my profession that I've ever been. I'm happiest in my, producing alongside Nicolette, alongside my wife, and being in New York right now at this time with our kids and with this company. I've never been happier because this is exactly what I want to be doing with the people I want to be doing it with.
Did you know about PURLIE Victorious for years? And has this piece lived with you for a while, beyond the 6 years of wanting to bring it back to Broadway?
It's so funny when I've known about the show, and I've read the play. I read the play first in high school, and I have 80% of it I didn't get that's because somebody wisely said plays exist in this really singular spot in literature because they are two things at once. They are great literature. They're great pieces of writing, but at the same time, the way that they're intended to be experienced is on stage. Like, of course we read Shakespeare, but the best way to experience Shakespeare is not to read it. The best way to experience Shakespeare is to see a great production.
Yeah.
And then it makes sense. You know, all of it, we're in high school reading what does this, wherefore thou, but what does this mean?
Right.
It's like nonsense. And then you see it and you understand everything. Oh, I know what that is. That's about love. That's about my parents. That's about death. I get it. So that's PURLIE, you know, PURLIE Victorious. It is a tremendous piece of writing. It is dense. It is like, you know, it's heady. And most of it I did not understand in high school. Most of it I didn't even there's jokes that these years into it that Kenny was like, you know, pointing us, that's a joke right there. Look, it's like, oh my God, in rehearsal, we're like, look at that beautiful joke. It's such a wonderful and cool thing to stand in the center of this great piece of literature and get to experience it the way that it was meant to be experienced.
Right now it's running to January, right? It's a limited
That's
run?
right. A limited run. We're gonna, if we closed January 7th, nobody would be mad. That would be our intended run. So don't wait until then. Come see us, come see us soon. We have to, theater is still fighting for its place. We're only in our second season back after the pandemic. And so there's nowhere I'd rather be right now. I believe in the necessity and the power of a healthy American theater, for the good of our society. And so if you believe in that too, and I know many of your listeners do, it's like, there's an urgency. Support the work and the artists that you believe in with an urgency. Don't wait, because we're fighting, we're fighting right now. But yes, January 7th, and then with possible extensions after that.
I think society a little bit, those of us that have loved theater our whole lives, but like you said, with COVID, we stepped back, and now tentatively audiences are coming. You all have forgotten how special it is. And I don't think I'm taking liberties in saying that. And once you return and you sit in the seat and you have this collective experience, no streaming service can give that to you. No trip to Disneyland is going to give that to you. It is a singular experience. And sadly, I think a lot of us have forgotten until you return. And then you're reminded so potently, and you go, oh, this is why I had to have theater in my life. I want to share a really quick text thread that happened. So this was earlier in September the 16th, Nancy Opel to the cast of Into the Woods. Everyone run to see PURLIE Victorious if you can. Josh Breckenridge, right? ? 35 times. I saw it last week. Brooke, my friend said the same thing. Katie Garrity, who played Little Red. I'm seeing it this week. I can't wait. Josh, get ready. In quotes, Nancy Opel. It's brilliant. Kara, Leslie, sensational. This entire company is completely on comedic point. And for Nancy Opel to say that, she's like a guru to me. Go, go, go.
To me too.
Josh says it's so beautifully bold in caps. Nancy, yes, it is. This goes on, and I'm scrolling my text on and on. And they set such a fire in all of us that was literally the topic of conversation for the next 3 days, from September the 16th until my birthday. Sorry, September the 19th. I knocked you off the text thread because it was my birthday, Leslie. But really, that sort of engagement and excitement, for that to come across like this, the piece is special. For things to be that audacious that people are still speaking and vibrating because of it, I hope you can feel that when you are on stage. Can you?
Part of it I can. I'm sort of focused on a different thing. Kenny has really made it our mandate, and Mr. Davis, I have to say, made it our mandate to tell an amount of truth about this experience, this Black experience, this African American experience, this American experience, full stop, because we also have the brilliant J.O. Sanders, and we have Noah Robbins, who are doing beautiful, my white brothers, doing a gorgeous, amount of truth telling themselves on this set. But for me, I prayed about a year and a half ago. I started, I don't know, I'm gonna let y'all in. It's like, this is what I want to do, right? I don't know if I want to play like Coltrane. If I can't play like Coltrane, why do it? So
out of body when you're up there.
but but Stephanie, it's about, I mean, you know, Coltrane, what he translated through that horn about what it meant to be black. It is about the souls of my people. You know what I mean? I can, you know, he screams through that horn. Like that, you know, and then sometimes it's so sometimes it's that too, but it's also it's, you know, and so it's like it's just all the joy and all the pain and all the fury and all the love that you can muster. Anyway, so that's what I'm focused on. You know, I'm in I'm in, I'm in my dressing room listening to Coltrane, listening to Ray Charles, and you know, I that's all I'm focused on is like, you know, telling the truth, and then and then praying that believing, having the faith that truth, you know, if it comes from the heart, it reaches the heart, that truth will find its way to the open hearts that are willing to receive it. Because I know I've seen it with you. I've received yours for years and years, your beautiful, unvarnished truth on a stage. And I've received Nancy Opal's, and I've received, you know, all of these gorgeous artists, and Sebastian's, you know, love him, love his work. So yeah, I'm up there to play my song, baby.
Oh man. That is definitely our clip, by the way. It's unbelievable. Did you find this song and present it to Kenny? Did Kenny Leon find this piece, bring it to you? How did it all work out? Was it Jeffrey Richards? How did this begin?
And for our listeners, Kenny is Kenny Leon, the director.
Yes.
The
in caps.
Love him so much.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Directed his ass off. I said ass. He's directed his tail off.
That's okay. You can say ass.
On this thing. He made an ensemble of us. He made a company of us, you know. It was like a little love connection. I was meeting with the estate, which is comprised of the 3 Davis D children, Nora and Hasna and Guy, their son, who's written the original music in our piece. The scene change music is all written by Guy Davis, who's Asi's son. I was chasing to control the rights as a producer for the first time, and Jeffrey was chasing the rights. I don't know if you guys know this, but Jeffrey Richards, Tony Award-winning, formidable producer in town. I've loved working with him as well. Jeffrey's mother was a company manager on Broadway when he grew up. So Jeffrey, as an 11-year-old child, his mother was the company manager for the original production of PURLIE VICTORIOUS.
Wow.
He saw this show. He said, you know, on a Saturday afternoon when he didn't have school, he'd come to the matinee with his friends, and they'd sit up at the top at the Long Acre. And you know, he knew Asi. He's got an original playbill signed by all the original company. So this play is dear to him. It's about his mom, you know, his connection to his mom. And so they gave the rights to Jeffrey, but they said if he was willing to, that I was their pick for PURLIE VICTORIOUS. And I had a meeting with Jeffrey, and he was so respectful and kind, and he promised me that if I agreed to do the production with him, he would run every single decision by me and open up the books and really give me an education in producing, and he has.
Do you like that place of producer? Does that feel great to you?
I feel, Stephanie, I'm the happiest that I've been, because I just feel fully expressed. It's not, I don't have to be the loudest voice in the room. I don't have to be the only voice in the room, but I need my full agency right now at this place in my life. Yes, I need to be able to contribute in every way that I am able to contribute. You don't have to listen to you. They don't always take my suggestion, but I said it. You know, I'm not withering on the vine. It's not, you know, being squeezed into a ball somewhere inside my, you know, chest. I said what I felt. I think that we should change that thing. I think we should look at that moment And by the way, I think my other cast members of the experience, I think my other cast members would say the same thing. You know, that's the kind of room that Kenny runs. And that stuff always starts from the top down. I learned that on the Hamilton experience as well. You know, Lynn and Tommy were both so generous, as you can see with all the Tony nominations that were around. Like, that's because Lynn is a generous writer. He doesn't want to be the only one on stage with great material. He doled out great material. And Tommy empowered us, you know, in our performances and made us feel like we could contribute in that way. So anyway, this is an experience where we're heading into opening night, and I am leaving it. We are leaving it all on the field. There's no conversation we haven't had. When we've had some tough ones, we've had to stop rehearsal and talk about some things. There's nothing. I don't have anything left to, you know, I'm not holding anything back.
I would think that room, in order for the piece to be potent, everybody would have to be transparent. Now, of course, I can only speak to my experience as a white person. So I think J.O. Sanders playing a slave owner, that's gotta feel in this day and age, really, dangerous, scary, intimidating, you know, to take on, like you said, a piece of history, a piece of America that is the truth.
Yeah.
But that so many in this country want to kind of shy away from or put into the closet and just move forward, but can't move forward until you address pieces like this and, you know, people and characters like this.
You know, more specifically, so don't forget your question. More specifically, I'll say, just like for the sort of, not to put too fine a point on it, but I think it's important. You know, Jay doesn't play a slave owner. It's more like his father was a slave owner, or his grandfather was a slave owner. You know, he has inherited this legacy of the Confederacy, and so he's actually, you know, the people in our play are sharecroppers. My great grandfather was a sharecropper, which was one of the ways that cropped up during Reconstruction. You know, one of the racist systems that cropped up, a way to cheat Black people out of land ownership, out of the true value of their labor in this country. You know, we just, looks like our strike is coming close to an end, thank God. But that's, you know, these are labor unions. We're talking about being paid fairly for our labor, and we're laborers. You know, you can't get more of a laborer than a farmer. You know, these people have wisdom and skill and talent. And they were never paid fairly. They were never given their fair share of the profits of what they, you know, offered to the South and to this country. And so Jay plays, while he's not a slave owner, he is like a lot of my white brothers and sisters around us. Yes, you may not have owned slaves, but how do you benefit from this system?
That is not a fine point. That is a very important point. Thank you for correcting me.
Sure.
No, that's totally important. And of course it makes sense. I mean, the play takes place, even though it played on Broadway in the 60s, the play is set in the 30s. Is that true?
Good question. Mr. Davis says the recent past. And so you have leeway. He's writing about his childhood, which would have been the 30s, the 40s, right? But Kenny actually sets the play. Our play is the early 60s. Kenny's like, you know, I want it in 60, 61, which is, I have to tell you, there's this documentary that we watched called Lay My Burden Down, which you can find on YouTube. Lay My Burden Down is a doc from 1966. Okay, so 6 years later, and they go to Alabama the year after Pettus Bridge, the year after, you know, that march across the bridge, Dr. King's famous march. That's right. And the poverty in small town Alabama is shocking. It looks like what we imagine 1920 to look like.
Wow.
Depression era.
Oh baby. Yeah, like we can sometimes, you know, it's only an hour. Like, it's amazing to watch. It was what those freedom riders found, when they would come from DC and New York and Baltimore, when they would, get on those buses and drive through the South, and it felt like it was a different country, because those of us that grew up on the East Coast, it ain't the East Coast. It took the South a much longer time to modernize, to let some of that stuff go. Yeah.
It's always shocking to me, how recent it was. We were talking to Larissa Fasthorse, who's an Indigenous American. She's doing a lot of writing now. She's writing the Peter Pan and several other things. And she told us, she was just a little bit younger than us, Steph, right? I think she's in her 30s or 40s. She told us growing up in the 80s, there were signs that said no dogs and no Indians allowed inside. Like
80s.
That blew my mind, because you grew up on the East Coast or the West Coast of the country.
That's
There's
right.
a lot in between that are unaware of. It was absolutely shocking to me. It's discouraging in many ways that this is still what we're up against after all of this time, but it's hopeful in other ways that now people are having honest, or trying to have very honest conversations about it, and see the things that were out of sight, out of mind, right? It never even occurred to me that those things were happening, because I was in, the East Coast, and it doesn't happen up here, but it does.
There's that saying, you only know what you know. And that to me is an excuse now, because there's a privilege to proximity. And when we are together in these quote unquote coastal elites, right? But different walks of life, different beliefs, different socioeconomic groups, when we start meeting each other, then that proximity leads to understanding, which leads to empathy, which leads to humanity at large. With this massive land space in between, and they're so isolated within that land space, then that's when we only know what we know. But that can't be an excuse anymore. Right. It just cannot be.
The internet has made the world so small.
It's right there.
Yeah, it's like, so that prevents us from pretending in lots of ways, right? It's brought right to our face. And the beautiful act of generosity of this piece is that it is so joyful. We face the truth of who we are. He holds up that mirror, Mr. Davis does, but he does it with the most loving heart. People don't write in that text thread like you just shared because they were just guilted all afternoon, or they were just preached to all afternoon. Right. This is a joyful exercise. It is and it's starring, by the way, Carrie Young, who is one of,
she's like fire.
Oh my God, she's like Lucille Ball meets Martin Lawrence meets Whoopi Goldberg meets, she's just she's the real deal.
All right, we've arrived at the 5 questions, but just before, a word from our sponsors. Okay. If you had any superpower, worldly or otherworldly, what would you like to wake up tomorrow morning and have as that superpower?
I wish I could eat anything I wanted and not gain a pound.
Why did I not think
I want that superpower,
right?
Too.
Like, I wish I could eat Thanksgiving dinner and it was the equivalent of, going to the gym for 2 hours.
Oh, yes. Oh, as a menopausal woman, I say yes.
Look, I don't want to save the world. I don't want to do that. I want to eat whatever I want and look great.
Stuffing, gravy, yes,
ice cream,
mac and cheese, yes, all of it, yes. Oh, that's the best answer thus far.
I know you like how questions, because you said that in your book. You love how questions. So if your life was a book, how would you title this chapter?
This chapter, you're going to need all the love in your heart.
If we were to walk into your closet, is there a piece of clothing, a garment, a piece of jewelry that you will never get rid of because of the memories it holds?
There's this really fucking cool trench I found in Milan. I was in Milan on a job a few years ago, and I happened upon, I love clothes and like
Yes.
telling stories that way and putting myself together that way. There's one of the great men's shops in the world. It's called Errol 55, ERAL 55, is in Milan. And I wasn't even looking for it. I had happened past it, and I walk in, and there's this trench coat in the center of the room, hand painted, one of a kind, that was just like, that is coming home with me. So I love it. And I wear it all the time. And it's just, I love that coat.
Good answer.
Okay, describe for me your perfect calorie-free sandwich.
There was oh my God, what a good question. There was the people make it all the time, a gobbler after Thanksgiving.
Oh yeah.
When you put the turkey, the stuffing, the cranberry sauce, a little mayo on a sandwich, some lettuce and tomato.
With you.
Yo,
It's
a turkey gobbler is the best sandwich there is.
Is there an LOJ sandwich somewhere in the country? Is there a deli anywhere that has a Leslie Odom Jr. sandwich?
Not yet.
Gotta make
I gotta
that
get
happen.
me one.
Get that going. All right, last one. And we truly ask every single guest this particular question. If you were a nail polish color, what would it be? And what's the cheeky little name that you'd have for that nail polish color?
Well, people keep getting, it's all good. They'll know the title after, by January 7th, everybody in the city is going to know our title. But because our signature color is purple and people are not used to seeing Pearlie, a lot of people, just see Pearlie and they think purple victorious. So anyway, I'd have a purple right now in this season of my life. Some really like a metallic-y purple, and we'd call it purple victorious. Purple Pearlie victorious.
Yes. You are a joy. I feel so much the better after talking to you. Thank you for waking up early and doing that with us.
It was
Thank
great.
you,
Great to meet you. Great to meet you.
Amen. Amen. Y'all be well. Thank you.
Okay.
You too.
Bye.
All good things. Bye.
Thank you. Well, there's so many other things I wanted to ask about. All of his music, because I know he writes. He plays like tons of instruments, and
he does.
He's just such an interesting, no matter how dig you deep, you're not getting to the bottom of that well.
No.
No.
Yeah. And I think, like we said, even before the interview, the integrity, purpose, vision with which he walks through the world is felt in every album, all the books, all the performances. And because of the constraints of the strike and whatnot. But he mentioned the word ensemble, that Kenny Leon made this particular group of actors an ensemble. That, yes, you could look at him as being the helm, but he does that a lot. He works in an ensemble sort of atmosphere a lot. Hamilton, and then if you want to go back and look at his list of cinema and all that, but yet he stands out, man. It doesn't matter if it's an ensemble of 6 or 26. There is a magnetism, and whether that is his integrity or his intentionality, you just keep going back to that human being as a vessel.
Well, you don't know if it's chicken or egg, right? You don't know if ensemble work is easy for someone like him because he brings so much to the table. He has innate talent, innate charm. He's nice to look at. He's incredibly talented. He's incredibly intelligent. Obviously, all of those things. So you say, ensemble work must be easy for him to just step in and allow others to shine as well because he's so accustomed to shining? Or is it he has perfected all of those things about himself because he's had the openness and the courage to step into ensemble work, not have to have all the attention, but he gets to absorb and actually raise his game according to those around him. He talks a lot in his book about mentors in his life. And I wanted to ask him about this as well. He said, I think it was his father-in-law. I could be wrong about that, but his father-in-law had said to him, "What did you do today to further your dream?" And he takes 10 minutes out of every day to further his dream. And I love that concept. I try to do that too. I try to say 10 minutes today, I need to further, this is what I'm working on. And
that seems doable. The old, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. You got to do a little something.
because it focuses your energy. It focuses what your goal and your dream, and it brings you back. And so, and then if you realize you're working 10 minutes towards something that maybe you really don't want, it's okay to shift that and then refocus your gaze onto something else, but keep going, which I think is really important for young performers listening to the podcast. 10 minutes every day. What are you working on? So it's a really good book. I really highly recommend it. He's a very interesting and hardworking guy.
Yeah, and he's introspective. Before in the interview, we were talking about the journaling and what did you observe? It just came up on my algorithm this morning, but Meryl Streep said, an actor is only as good as his or her observations. So if you're not looking outward and inward, if you're not paying attention, then you are so limited in how you grow, not only as an actor, but as a human, which we have said in many different ways. But you just have to start observing and then implementing it into your life. And that's when you can write a good book, when you have enough observations and opinions and experiences. And it sounds that's what his book is.
Well, it's funny. When I picked it up, I thought, well, he's so young. I mean, how much can he say? He's young.
Right.
He's lived, but he hasn't lived that much. But
Right.
I was wrong. He had a lot to say, and it was very good.
Well, like I told him, I do feel all the better for speaking to him. And gosh, come on now, everybody, get yourself to PURLIE Victorious.
Yes.
Not only for the talents of, the likes of Leslie Odom Jr., Kara Young, but Kenny Leon directing, J.O. Sanders, Derek McLean did the sets. It looks like one of those experiences that you go, I went to New York and I saw, because it's a moment in time in New York City to capture this play and to see these talents tell the story. Like I told him, I feel all the more better for speaking with this amazing individual.
Yeah, he was fantastic. I'm so glad that he came on and talked to us. It was wonderful.
I mean, he's a busy man. So saying yes, as he propounds, that's not a word, propounds. This is why I don't write books, Mary Lee, and you and he do write that book. You do write the books for us. Anyway, he said yes.
Oh
I love you.
I love you too. I'll talk
Literate
to you
brain. Goodbye.
Bye-bye. Stages podcast is produced by Stephanie J. Block and Mary Lee Fairbanks in association with iHeartRadio. It can be heard on the iHeartRadio podcast and iHeartRadio Broadway, or wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Please join our cast by signing up at stagespodcast.net, listening, sharing, and leaving a 5-star review. It all makes such a difference in getting the word out. Thanks for listening, and we will see you again soon.